Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and we are answering publicly posted questions from YouTube users. This particular question I split into two separate answers because they were two very different questions. But we're getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney. So Blinks77 asked this question on our video entitled, "Is suing for discrimination or sexual harassment even worth it?" The answer is it often is. But Blink77 asked us, in the first half of this question, hey Vince, I was wondering, a lot of employees are required to sign arbitration agreements. Is it still worth it to sue for lawyers and clients when the client had to sign an arbitration agreement? So, full disclosure, I work as an employment arbitrator. My day job, my full-time gig is representing victims of workplace discrimination, workplace sexual harassment, but I also sit as an arbitrator and I hear employment cases. And I do believe in arbitration fundamentally as a process. I think it has value for a lot of people in a lot of situations. But, and I've been clear about this on the channel before, I do not sit and arbitrate cases where arbitration agreements were mandatory, right? I don't think that's all that fair. Now, down below your question, Blink77, there's a YouTube user named Sport Fanatic who made the argument that no employee is forced to sign an arbitration agreement. If you don't want the job, you don't need the job, you don't have to sign the agreement, right? Yeah, to an extent that's true, and Sport Fanatic is certainly making a point there, but there is a power disparity generally between employees and employers. So while employees are not forced to sign arbitration agreements, they do want to earn a living, and employees who want to earn a living will be eager for a job, and as part of that they will often feel pressured to agree to an arbitration agreement if the employer requires such an arbitration agreement, and I don't love that. That's not a great dynamic. I have problems with it. But by the same token, I think arbitration is incredibly useful in a variety of situations. If you want to keep your case quiet, arbitration is wonderful. If you have a really complex case that maybe a jury won't fully understand, right? It's very common. There's a lot of cases where you really have to do a great deal of educating when it comes to the jury, right? You get strange things like national origin cases where people look alike and share a culture but are fundamentally different, and the jury needs a history lesson about why one of these groups is making really hateful genocide jokes at the expense of the other, even though they racially are the same group, right? That can be complex. Is it beyond the average jury? No. Does it add risk? Yeah. The more complex your story is, the more education is required to go into your narrative, the harder that can be with a jury. Now, with the average employment arbitrator, that's not going to be the case because they probably already have seen these cases, right? They have a lifetime in this field, and then they're working as an arbitrator as their their retirement gig or their whatever it is, their part-time, whatever they're doing, right? Or you're dealing with a judge who's retired from judging and has become an arbitrator, right? That's also a very common story. My point is, these arbitrators, they have a depth of knowledge in the field. Years, decades of experience, not to my own horn, all of them, right? And so if you have a complex case, or if you want to keep your case quiet, or you don't want to deal with the unpredictable nature of jury selection, arbitration can be beautiful and valuable and a really wonderful, helpful process. So yes, I would say if you're subject to an arbitration agreement, it can absolutely still be worth it for the clients, and it's certainly worth it for the lawyers. I've never looked at a case and said to myself, well, there's an arbitration agreement here, so I'm not going to help this person. Never once. Never came up in all my life. And also for the lawyers, the arbitration process is faster. It's advantageous for the client as well, presumably you want your case over sooner. Part of the huge advantage of arbitration is the efficiency. These cases are moving. Like, something that might take 3.5, 4 years in a state court in the middle of nowhere can take, a 1.5 years in federal court, or 2 months, 4 months, 6 months in arbitration. Who knows? Depends on the arbitrator, depends on the parties, but you can really, really move these things if you're in arbitration. So there's absolutely advantages for the lawyers, for the clients. Is it right for everyone? No, certainly not. Is it right for every situation? Absolutely not. There's going to be situations where I would look at a case and say, hey, as the plaintiff, you're going to want a jury here, right? That conversation happens. I've had that conversation often. There's also been cases where I've looked at the situation, looked at my client's life and career and hopes and dreams, and said, hey, you want arbitration here. Really, truly. This is, and here's why. And you have that discussion, right? So, Blinks, your question is it worth it to pursue your case if it has to go to arbitration? Yes. Also, though, I will note, it's really, really next to impossible for an arbitration agreement to keep you out of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Could keep you out of federal court, potentially, and that's, there's no sure things, and I can't speak to the case law of other jurisdictions, but generally speaking, it's never going to be able to keep you, never or almost never, going to be able to keep you out of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which is an option if that's something you're looking at as well. Don't feel like you're trapped by your arbitration agreement, both because I think arbitration agreements can be great, but also because you may have additional options. And again, as I noted, I don't love mandatory arbitration agreements. I don't love those. I think there's a lot of folks who make some very compelling arguments that those are one-sided agreements. And we as a nation will, I'm sure, continue to look at that, trying to decide what's best for society as a whole, right? Blinks, if this was helpful, like and subscribe. Helps me to help more people just like you. And I hope I answered your question. I hope I gave you what you're looking for here. If I didn't, I will check the comments on the video. Comment down below. I'll see it. I'll try to do better. Try to give you a little more specificity or tailor my answer to your specific questions a little closer if I can. All right? Good luck.